2026 is already here, and with it comes significant changes to Australia's age pension rules. If you rely on your pension to make ends meet, you're going to want to pay attention because even the smallest oversight could mean a cut in your payments. Imagine living your life under the assumption that everything is fine, only to find out you're suddenly receiving less than you were promised. How would that impact your quality of life, your health, your peace of mind? Well, don't worry. In the next few minutes, I'm going to break down everything you need to know to avoid those cuts. By the end of this video, you'll have all the knowledge you need to ensure your payments are protected and that you're not caught off guard by any surprises. So let's get started. And if you're feeling a little unsure or overwhelmed, stay tuned because I'll also show you exactly what steps you can take today to safeguard your pension moving forward. First, let's start with something critical: eligibility. If you've been receiving the age pension for some time, you might think that you're all set, right? Unfortunately, the government has tightened up the eligibility requirements, especially when it comes to assets. In 2026, the asset limits have been adjusted. That means if you own a home that's more valuable than the average, or if you've been saving money to enjoy a comfortable retirement, you could find that you no longer qualify for the full pension. Or even worse, if your assets exceed certain limits, you could end up losing your pension entirely. This is a huge deal because for many Australians, the pension is the safety net that provides financial stability. So, you might be wondering, how can you avoid falling into this trap? Well, here's the key: understanding exactly how much you can own and still qualify for the full payment. We'll be going over this in more detail soon, but first, let's talk about income limits. It's not just about what you own, it's also about what you earn. Now, I'm not talking about a regular salary, but if you're bringing in any additional income, whether it's from investments, savings, or even a small side job, this could affect your pension amount. And in 2026, there's a significant change here too. The rules have been tightened around the income thresholds, meaning that even if you have a small increase in your income, you could see a reduction in your payments. So here's the situation: you're likely to find that the income you earn from various sources will now be considered more strictly when determining your eligibility for the full age pension. And this could mean that you're either getting less than you were expecting, or if your income crosses certain thresholds, you might not qualify for the age pension at all. The good news is that there are still ways to protect yourself. In the next part, we'll be covering some specific actions you can take to make sure you're on the right side of the new rules. But before we get to that, let me ask you something. Do you think these changes could affect you? Maybe you're already feeling the weight of these new rules, or perhaps you're wondering if you're in the clear. I'm sure some of you are also curious about how this could impact your healthcare coverage or your ability to travel. Stay with me because in just a moment we'll dive into some actionable steps that will help you stay protected. But first, let me throw a quick pattern interrupt your way to keep things interesting. You may have heard that pensioners over a certain income limit could face additional taxes. But is that true? Well, the answer is coming up, so stay tuned to find out whether these new rules might mean more taxes for you. Now, let's move on to another important aspect: pension reviews. This one's crucial because it's not just about what you qualify for at the start, it's also about keeping track of any changes to your financial situation over time. Every few years, the government reviews your pension eligibility. If there's any significant change to your assets or income and you haven't updated your details with Centrelink, your pension payments could be drastically altered. This is often when the cuts come in. Maybe you sold an investment property or cashed in some stocks but failed to report it to Centrelink. That could result in a pension reduction without you even knowing why. But don't panic. We'll explain exactly how to keep your reviews in check so you're not blindsided. All right, now that we've covered the eligibility changes and the importance of staying on top of your asset and income limits, let's dive into something that might be a bit overwhelming for some: how to protect yourself from pension cuts. Let's start by focusing on pension reviews, as I promised. This is where many pensioners go wrong, and it's one of the biggest reasons why people lose money. When the government conducts its regular pension reviews, they look at all your financial details to make sure you still meet the eligibility criteria. But here's the thing, if you haven't updated your information, they'll assume your financial situation hasn't changed, and this could result in an inaccurate calculation of your pension amount. Let me give you an example. Imagine you sold a car or you received a lump sum from an insurance payout, but you forgot to report it. The government will assume you haven't had any changes to your assets or income, and based on that assumption, they might reduce your pension. This happens more often than you might think, and it's the last thing anyone wants after years of planning their retirement. So, how do you avoid this? Step 1, keep your information up to date. This might sound obvious, but you'd be surprised at how many people forget to inform Centrelink about changes in their financial situation. Whether it's a change in your bank balance, your income, or assets like property or investments, make sure you report these changes as soon as they happen. Centrelink isn't going to hunt down this information, they rely on you to keep your records accurate. And remember, the more accurate your records are, the better you'll be at avoiding any nasty surprises come review time. Step 2, review your pension eligibility regularly. It's not just about staying on top of what Centrelink knows. You should be reviewing your own financial situation every year. This way, you'll be able to predict how the changes might affect your pension before the government reviews it. Take stock of your assets, savings, income, and any other factors that might play a role in your eligibility. By doing this, you can take proactive steps to reduce your assets or adjust your income well before the government comes knocking. Step 3, understand the pensioner income test. Many people fail to fully understand how Centrelink calculates income for pension eligibility, and trust me, it's more complex than you think. It's not just about what you earn from employment. Investment income, like interest, dividends, or rental income, counts towards your total income. If we have a large sum invested somewhere, even if it's bringing in passive income, that income will be considered when Centrelink calculates your pension. But don't panic, because there are strategies to manage this. For instance, one way to reduce your reportable income is to adjust how your investments are structured. In some cases, you could place assets in a trust or rearrange them in a way that helps reduce your income test. This can be tricky territory though, and it's always wise to speak with a financial advisor who specializes in retirement planning to ensure you're making the right moves for your unique situation. Now, moving on to something that's critical for your overall well-being, healthcare coverage. Many seniors don't realize that their pension is closely tied to the healthcare benefits they receive. If your pension is reduced, it might also impact your access to certain healthcare programs. This could mean higher out of pocket costs for doctor visits, prescription medication, and hospital stays. For those relying on the Medicare safety net or subsidized medication through the Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme, PBS, a drop in pension could lead to increased medical expenses. That's why it's so critical to manage your pension and ensure it stays stable, because the last thing you want is to face a medical emergency and not have the financial support you need. But don't worry, there are strategies to help mitigate these risks. One way is to look into supplementary health plans. Some health insurance providers offer supplementary plans for those receiving a pension. These plans can help cover the cost of health services not covered by Medicare, such as dental or optical care. These plans often have a lower premium for pensioners, which is a great way to protect yourself from unforeseen medical expenses. Another way to safeguard your future is to explore other sources of income. We know the age pension is important, but relying solely on it could leave you vulnerable in the long run. The cost of living continues to rise, and if your pension doesn't keep up with inflation, you'll find yourself struggling. That's why many pensioners turn to part time work or side income to boost their finances. Now, I know what you might be thinking, can I still work and get my pension? The answer is yes, but it depends on how much you earn. If you're earning a modest income, it won't necessarily affect your payments, but if you earn more, you might see a reduction. The trick is to find a balance where you're still earning enough to supplement your pension without triggering a decrease in your payments. For some, this could mean working just a few hours a week or finding a flexible job that allows them to stay within the income thresholds for pension eligibility. But here's something that might sound surprising to many: investing in your future doesn't have to mean risking your pension. One way to secure your financial future is by focusing on long term investments that are considered exempt from the income and asset tests. These can include things like certain superannuation funds, income producing annuities, or even life insurance. If you make the right investments, you can increase your future financial security without triggering pension reductions. Of course, this requires careful planning and a clear understanding of the rules, which is why I highly recommend speaking with a financial advisor who can help you navigate this tricky landscape. A good advisor will show you how to invest in ways that help you protect your pension while still growing your wealth. And finally, one of the best ways to protect yourself from age pension cuts is simply by staying informed. The rules are always changing, and it can be hard to keep up with everything. That's why it's so important to keep an eye on updates from the government, Centrelink, and financial advisors. Set aside time to read up on policy changes, watch videos like this one, and engage with forums or communities for pensioners. This way, you'll always be ahead of the curve and you can make the adjustments you need before things get out of hand. And speaking of staying informed, here's the most important takeaway from today's video: you have more control over your pension than you think. By being proactive, staying informed, and taking the right steps, you can keep your payments safe and secure your financial future. It might require a little bit of effort, but trust me, the peace of mind you'll gain will be worth it.